If you could have multiple versions of yourself, what would you do? Would you be best friends with yourself? Would you bring your clones out in public? Is it even possible to do all this? Today we'll talk about cloning and what we know. What is cloning? Cloning is the process of producing individuals with identical or virtually identical DNA, either naturally or artificially. In nature, many organisms produce clones to asexual reproduction. Cloning in biotechnology refers to the process of creating clones of organisms or copies of cells or DNA fragments. Since clones are near perfect copies of their parent organism, they are almost always fertile. However, since clones tend to occur naturally from asexual species, like some sponges for example, they are often unable to reproduce sexually in the wild. A clone is not the same age as the original. It doesn't have the same memories and it only shares the same DNA. Offspring of clones are clones, and each generation gets weaker and weaker and has more and more problems. No, not at all. A clone produces offspring by sexual reproduction just like any other animal. On December 27, 2002, Brigitte Boisler held a press conference in Florida, announcing the birth of the first human clone called Eve. This means that cloning is very much possible. A 2004 law makes human cloning illegal, defining human cloning as human asexual reproduction accomplished by introducing the nuclear material of a somatic cell into a fertilized or unfertilized oocyte whose nucleus has been removed or inactivated to produce a living organism at any stage of development. More than 60 of the world's leading science academies have called for an unban on the reproductive cloning of humans to prevent the exploitation of vulnerable people. But they also urge that any such ban should not extend to cloning human tissue for the treatment of diseases. The term cloning describes a number of different processes that can be used to produce genetically identical copies of a biological entity. In the basic cloning procedure, like that used to create Dolly the Sheep in 1996, scientists take an entire adult cell and inject it into an egg that has been relieved of its own DNA. The resulting embryo is a clone. Here is the backstory of Dolly the Sheep.
A sheep named Dolly was successfully cloned in 1996 by somatic cell nuclear transfer, making it the first mammal to be successfully cloned. After this happened, it was only natural for the idea of human cloning to be discussed. Several nations made the process of human cloning illegal.
The news that researchers have used cloning to make human embryos for the purpose of producing stem cells may have some people wondering if it would ever be possible to clone a person. Although it would be unethical, experts say it is likely biologically possible to clone a human being. Moreover, most scientists believe that the processing of cloning humans will result in even higher failure rates. Not only does the cloning process have a low success rate, the viable clone suffers increased risk of serious genetic malformation, cancer, or shortened lifespan. Experts say cloning is a way of being dehumanized.
And Leon Kass, a conservative bioethicist. Leon Kass, at the time, believed that programmed reproduction of man will in fact dehumanize.
Most participants condemn cloning as immoral, and they all have said that it should be illegal. The most commonly reported positive sentiment was by far interest or curiosity. Negative emotions were much more varied, but anxiety was the most common. Perspectives on human cloning are theoretical. As human therapeutic and reproductive cloning are not commercially used, animals are currently cloned in laboratories and in livestock reproduction. Advocates for reproductive cloning believe that parents who cannot otherwise procreate should have access to technology. Cloning is banned and unethical. It is widely believed that reproductive human cloning is morally wrong and should be prohibited because it infringes on human individuality, freedom, and personal identity. The risks associated with reproductive cloning in humans introduce a very high likelihood of loss of life, which means the process is considered unethical. Therapeutic cloning remains totally unacceptable to such people because it involves the deliberate creation of what they deem to have a human being in order to destroy it. So to answer our question, yes, cloning is real, but it is banned all around the world. What would you do? Would you clone yourself, your pets, or maybe your friends? Let us know in the comments. And of course, once again, thank you for watching.